Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, and Rovi, and today we're going to be talking about the old reliable Bitcoin.
Oh, how dare you hijack that, dude? I don't know if Bitcoin deserves old reliable yet. It's on its way, though. This is the testing grounds, right?
Yeah. So that's the speculation, is that it will become the old reliable, or I would say the new reliable.
Speculation. That's the advertising coming from the Bitcoin Core Maxi community. But all that meant nothing up until recent events.
Yeah.
Right?
Silicon Valley banks.
Basically. Now
Credit Suisse.
And all the above. All the ripple effects of basically, I guess, like at a higher interest rate environment. Now there's like a little bit of a financial destabilization.
Mm-hmm.
So what does Bitcoin do during times like these, right? Supposedly, it's been advertised to be like a nice little counter hedge against like a financial collapse. So as the financial system seems to be a little wavery, you should expect Bitcoin to see some positive inflows. Right?
Yeah, and just recently, the Fed had turned on the printing press and printed new $300 billion.
To save the banks.
To save the banks. And anytime that they print new money, that I guess asset value goes up. So Bitcoin is not the only one going up, right? All stocks have been going up.
Oh, yeah. Whenever there's a period of QE, it's like the market signal.
Right.
Business as usual. You know, as long as the printer is on, you know, time to speculate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So now we have, Balaji. So who's this guy? He's
CTO of Coinbase.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like the current CTO or if he was like during its founding days, but
I don't know. He tweets way too much to be the CTO of Coinbase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's just an internet persona who like usually chimes in his opinions on any financial matters, technology related things. Just one of those guys you see on Twitter all the time. I mean, his very recognizable profile picture. Mm-hmm. It's not an NFT, unfortunately, but still, this guy, he's been around and he's very notable. And I guess he made like a pretty like historic bet here, right?
Yeah. So apparently this guy, James Medlock, says, I'll bet anyone $1 million that the U.S. does not enter hyperinflation.
Okay.
Which it's just a tweet, right? I don't think this guy was serious, right? But Balaji steps in. He says, I'll take that bet. You buy one Bitcoin, I will send $1 million USD. This is a 40-to-1 odds, as one Bitcoin is worth roughly 26K. Today is worth 28. Term is 90 days. So he predicts $1 million Bitcoin in 90 days as of March 17th, 2023, which is a few days ago.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy proposition to think about. So basically he's betting on like complete collapse of the dollar within 90 days.
Yeah. So that sparked our conversation internally on the efficacy, the rationality of Bitcoin becoming $1 million token. Well, just in general, just $1 million token plus $1 million in 90 days.
Well, I guess hyperinflation would be like a nice like shortcut to that reality.
It would be.
That was never like factored into my my roadmap of macro events that had to be
cognizant of
reality, like in order for Bitcoin to get to that ultimate milestone achievement, right?
But hyperinflation seems like it would be some sort of runaway inflation that doesn't seem like a very reasonable thing to do, not at this stage.
Well, I think it depends on like the severity of this whole banking fiasco, right?
So if like 50% of the banks start failing, then
it depends, because like as of right now, the only safeguard to like bank depositors, like only thing keeping them, I guess, comfortable with not like withdrawing all their deposits is the Federal Reserve. Maintaining that expectation. Yeah, if any of these banks go bust for whatever reason, they have like these, these balance sheets that are not like calculating for risk when it comes to like these interest rates, because we don't know. The Fed might keep cranking them up over time, and what does that do to all their?
They're likely to keep cranking it up too, right?
I think that's what most people are expecting, right?
Just to curb inflation, right? They have to.
Yeah, but in light of this new like banking fiasco, maybe they do something out of the left field or something. Basically, it's very uncertain times. We're in uncharted territory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons for people to be like skeptical and not want to have their money like locked into these community banks anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And they want to like
Yeah, what is the value in keeping your money in a community bank versus Bank of America, Chase, and any of these like 4 huge banks?
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't
I don't know.
doesn't seem.
I mean, they
like
exist for a reason. Probably because like lending opportunities such as that. You know?
Yeah, I'm sure they have different products, better products.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
when
like,
it comes to like having a safe place to store your funds, obviously it doesn't seem like a good idea anymore.
well, yeah, anymore. But it did at the time. It seemed
Yeah.
fine. The whole banking system
Was
there's a ton of confidence, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing was going wrong, but now things are going wrong. So
And the reason why they're going wrong is the Fed interest rates hiking at
Yeah.
a historic rate, and it's causing the banks' assets to be less valuable.
Mhm.
And then when they have to service people deposits, they have to sell those assets at a loss.
yeah,
And so now it's causing banks to fail.
correct. So I think what Balaji is saying here is, depending on the severity of like how many, like if more and more events happen in the future, I guess within the next 90 days that cause more bank runs to occur, at some point, I guess the Federal Reserve is going to have to, again, maintain that expectation in order to like make sure there isn't systemic panic
Yeah.
across the board
Yeah.
where everybody starts withdrawing their deposits. In order to do that, we're going to have to print so much money
Yeah.
that we enter into a hyperinflationary state. That's
Yeah.
what he's betting on. He's betting on that's going to happen. Like there's going to be a massive bank run on a proportion we've never seen in human history.
Yeah.
And as a result, we're going to print ourselves into like destitution.
Yeah.
That's the bet he made here.
If you read Balaji's tweets, he talks about how a lot of banks are in the exact same position as Silicon Valley Bank. A lot of them. And so that's why
Yeah.
he has a lot of
basically, yeah. He's basically
testicular fortitude in his like prediction.
You mean balls?
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to say it.
Yeah.
He's making a ballsy play here without a doubt. But I mean,
Yeah.
he's obviously has money. If he could just throw away $1 million like willy nilly, but still, like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the point being, he has a lot of conviction in his belief that the whole banking industry and the Fed are lying to us and like making it seem like the problem isn't as big as it actually is. So I guess he's looked into the numbers and maybe he's heard some rumblings from within, like, you know what, like shit's about to hit the fan.
Yeah.
We're all fucked potentially. So hopefully he's not right. I'll be honest.
But you know, higher level thinking here. Let's take a look at this comment, this statement. I'll bet anyone $1 million that the U.S. does not enter hyperinflation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's assume it does in this scenario.
Okay.
How much value is $1 million at that point? It's probably like $10 worth, $100 worth.
Well, that's why he made the bet.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
Like,
he
this
wants
is-
the Bitcoin.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, because he's betting like if the dollar collapses, that the only escape and safe haven from this is Bitcoin. So that's literally his narrative. If you go and read all his other tweets after this, it's like it's all about Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that. Like Bitcoin's the only true like safe haven in the event of this occurrence.
Yeah.
Basically, he's a straight up maxi.
Well, this guy, the guy who's betting the $1 million, it doesn't matter if he loses because $1 million isn't worth a lot of money at that point during hyperinflation. So this isn't a big statement. But nonetheless,
Well, it is if somebody takes on the bet and it doesn't happen, then he just scooped up $1 million. You know? That's
as
the
long as
point.
he buys a Bitcoin, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like he made a $974,000 profit, dude,
Yeah,
from Balaji's maxi craziness.
right.
So we're gonna see in 90 days who's.
Yeah, 90 days
Bonkers.
seems crazy, but
But like I said, I am totally not on Balaji's side here because you don't want this to happen.
oh yeah,
No
definitely
matter
not.
what, none of us want to see hyperinflation. None of us want to see a Bitcoin become $1 million valuation at
At
this,
that rate.
the expense of the dollar's collapse.
Yeah, agreed.
That means complete, economic devastation and all the things that follow after that. Nobody wants to see. So,
I mean,
shame on you, Balaji. Shame.
if we do have a hyperinflation, I don't think a Bitcoin would be worth 1 million. I think it should be worth more.
Potentially, but then
Like-
what is it actually worth?
Yeah, it's not worth like
Not worth anything.
dollars.
Exactly.
It's just worth how much food can you buy with a Bitcoin? How much?
Not a damn thing.
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's
Yeah.
like what can you do with a Bitcoin?
Nothing.
That becomes a question.
I totally
And if
agree.
that's the question, it's like it doesn't matter anymore.
Then Bitcoin has no true value then at that point. As
Yeah,
long
nothing
as it's not
does.
pegged,
Gold doesn't
the only
have
thing
any
that has
value.
value is the dollar at the moment.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's because you need it. That's people take dollars.
Correct. So a lot more has to happen other than like hyperinflation or for Bitcoin to have like true value to it. There's many more macro events follow in order for like the world to agree. All right, let's peg our entire economic system on the value of this digital good.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it's a good segue to CZ's tweet here.
Okay.
So he says, so this was about 8 days ago, given the changes in stable coins and banks, Binance will convert the remaining of the $1 billion industry recovery initiative funds from BUSD to native crypto, including Bitcoin, Binance Coin, and ETH. Some fund movements will occur on-chain transparency. So we were talking about, okay, so let's assume Bitcoin actually does achieve $1 million. In what sort of environment would have to exist in order for Bitcoin to get to $1 million? And we agreed that it takes companies to actually hold that in their reserves and their
like a much grander scale than what we saw from the last cycle that drove Bitcoin to 60K. That was definitely like
that was like MicroStrategy and like Tesla, and that's it.
It was a tease, but we need actual companies like
conviction.
This. Yeah, like transparent, like again, having, reports, like their quarterly reports are all showing Bitcoin, as part of their
balance sheet,
treasury management portfolios and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because I guess now everyone's aware again of the banking instability, and so you got to find vehicles to hedge against that. And Bitcoin, as speculative as it is at the moment, I wouldn't outweigh like my Bitcoin holdings as opposed to something a little more tried and true, the true old reliables of precious metals and whatnot. But still, it deserves some sort of consideration, like to be part of the portfolio, maybe like a smaller percentage. But if you extrapolate that across like all of industry, even if every company on the planet all of a sudden had 1% of their treasury holdings into Bitcoin, like we're talking trillions now. Exactly what's needed for Bitcoin to be $1 million.
Yeah, so $1 million Bitcoin means that the market cap is around $4 trillion.
Correct.
So that's less than half the value of gold.
I know, but which is still a tremendous amount of liquidity. 100%, Which, it needs worldwide participation from some very big players. So there's a lot of things that factor into that. Of course, regulation. A lot of these companies might not ever do this until like government gives the okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And by the way, there was another article coming from Texas. Speaking of Texas, I don't know if you have it pulled up. See if you can find it, because we come from Texas. In case you didn't know.
I thought I pulled it up, but maybe I didn't.
Go find it, dude, because this is very important. There it is.
Oh, here it is. I didn't click on this. Hold on. Let me bring it to the here.
Okay. So speaking of governments giving the green light, this is Texas we're talking about.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Texas is, it's the only true state of the United States.
The best country in the United States.
That's right. And they're taking like a definitive stance in support of Bitcoin. Exactly what we're talking about. They're encouraging companies to do exactly what it is we're saying that they're going to have to start doing. They're supporting mining operations, and they're even speculating, or I guess they're putting bills into the Texas government, I guess, legislation system at the moment to get approval for the state to actually invest in Bitcoin itself.
Yeah.
This is huge. This is going to set a huge precedent. Texas is probably like the biggest state as far as economic GDP in the entire country. If Texas makes a move like this, a lot of other states in the union could follow suit. Maybe even the whole government as a whole.
Yeah, and that's the real speculation, is that it's going to take companies, it's going to take, in this case, states, and then eventually governments to hold Bitcoin because they deem it, valuable. And once that happens, you're talking about more than a $4 trillion market cap for Bitcoin.
Yeah, we've already seen like precedents from the Fed and all them, for whatever reason, give Bitcoin like its ultimate respect as opposed to other coins like an Ethereum, which
that's a good point. Yeah.
Ethereum has similar like sound money principles now, that it has some deflationary elements to it and whatnot, and has much more utility, proven utility.
Yep.
But nonetheless, the Fed doesn't give it the same respect, I guess, or I should say the SEC, not really the Fed.
Yeah.
The SEC, I guess, because of, I don't know,
so
different considerations. Like Bitcoin's not on like the same scope that like other coins in the market are.
Well, yeah, because Ethereum directly affects the financial system because they have a bunch of DeFi products, lending protocols, everything completely without the use of banks.
But that's not what they're saying, at least not yet. That's not what they're claiming. Why they consider or regard Ethereum and everything else but Bitcoin as security.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. But like they've given Bitcoin that safe haven declaration, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why companies and states are starting to consider Bitcoin much more, I guess, like legitimately.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess with the SEC claiming that Ethereum is potentially a security, and basically in the same sentence saying that Bitcoin is not a security.
Yeah.
Do you see that more as a bullish scenario for Bitcoin as a result?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
1,000%. That's huge. Like I said, that gives green lights to a lot of, bigger players. Now, it's not like 100% like set in stone. Regulation still has like a ways to go.
Yeah, it hasn't cleared it yet.
Exactly. But it's on its way. And it's going to be part of that narrative, I think, like where Bitcoin's on the way up.
Yeah.
Different little catalyst moments where like, regulation does get passed that's going to give more and more of like a certain green light era for Bitcoin. So yeah, speaking of up in a way, where are we at as far as like the market?
Okay, so we're looking at the stock to flow model of Bitcoin, and if you don't know what stock to flow is, definitely check out our older video where we kind of break this down.
Well, yeah, we've been looking at these for
a number of years now.
Since we started this podcast, basically.
So basically, stock to flow basically states this. Stock to flow models are used to value gold.
Yes.
And that value of gold right now is around $11 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically measures the current stock of gold versus the current flow of gold. How often are you excavating gold from the ground?
Okay.
And then it just gives you a ratio.
Correct.
So that ratio is roughly 62 for gold.
Okay.
So today the ratio for Bitcoin is around 50.
Okay.
So it's very, very close to gold in terms of stock to flow.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what happens in a year, man?
It gets halved.
It gets halved.
What gets halved?
The flow gets halved.
Yes, correct. Basically, the emission rate.
Right. So the bottom number gets halved
Mm-hmm.
in this ratio, and so that means it doubles every 4 years. The stock to flow ratio for
So we're gonna have 100, as opposed to what 62,
as opposed to 50 for now for Bitcoin.
I know, but what's gold at 62?
Gold 62, yeah,
So
almost double.
at that point, it means Bitcoin's more, I guess, difficult to obtain than gold,
100%,
and more scarce, I guess.
Yeah.
So what is it? What should that equate to?
Number go up, I guess.
I guess that's the economic theory behind it, or the principle behind this whole design, right?
So if you believe gold is valuable and you understand that gold is measured in value with a stock to flow ratio, then you can see the same metrics, measurements being applied to Bitcoin. And
like we all know gold isn't the reason why gold is so valuable is not because of its like utilitarian purpose behind it,
right?
Because
correct.
It's not for its like electrical conductivity or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
that's not why gold is like highly regarded and like again harbored by governments and big companies and stuff like that. It's because of these value properties,
right?
Like scarcity and difficulty.
Yes,
everything that Bitcoin has, right?
Yeah,
it's just a new generation, I guess, like factoring in those same value principles, but
here's a thing. If let's assume that stock to flow is a good measurement of value for Bitcoin, right? Stock to flow doesn't work forever for Bitcoin because as Bitcoin keeps happening all the way until year 2140, the bottom number in this ratio keeps getting smaller and smaller. So basically, the stock to flow ratio goes to infinity.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't make any sense.
It sure doesn't.
Right? So you can't really use stock to flow ratio to measure the value of Bitcoin. So it makes sense now to kind of like pitch the value of Bitcoin in this arc, but it doesn't always work. So so now let's talk about like our actual predictions. So let me see if I can go to one of these charts. All right, so let's just kind of zoom in here. So this is a $60,000, $69,000 Bitcoin. It crashed to 16,000, and it was projected to reach 100K. Right? Everybody was saying 100K Bitcoin the last cycle didn't happen. Yeah. Right. And this cycle, it's projected to be around $1 million. That's why so many people are predicting $1 million Bitcoin, all that. Yeah. So guess what might not happen, right? Reach $1 million.
It could not.
Yeah. So
Or it could shoot past it. To
It
the
could,
moon. To the moon,
absolutely.
dude. 2 million Bitcoin.
It could absolutely shoot past it, depending on all these macro events, right?
It's true, yeah.
So let me see if I can find another chart here. Okay, so now let's zoom out. So now we're reaching a resistance of around 30,000, and then to reach $1 million, let's just let's play around with this chart here. So here's 100,000.
Yeah, we're talking basically everything previously is going to become a blip.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
comparison. Like a flat line.
Here's 500,000.
Jesus.
Right?
It's starting
And
to make this seem unlikely, dude.
here's $1 million. Okay, so now let's turn on the log though.
Yeah, that's going to look like nothing.
Yeah, so let me at auto.
I hate when this happens.
Yeah, so here's $1 million right here, dude. Right here.
Yeah. See?
Wait, is that $1 million or is that 100,000?
That's 100K, dog.
Yeah, sorry. Let's go to $1 million.
Is that the log?
Yeah, this is a log.
Oh, yeah, it is a log.
Right. This is
There
$1
you go.
million.
That looks a little bit more digestible.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
log chart.
Okay.
So is it absolutely crazy? Not really. But yeah, it's not gonna happen in 90 days like Balaji is saying.
No, I totally agree. I think that I don't know what that's all about. I think Balaji knows like that's not. I don't know. This is just one of those to be seen. We'll see if everything collapses within 90 days. Most likely not.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Bitcoin is on this trajectory. Nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen enough indication that we've probably experienced, if not the bottom, one of the indications of the bottom of the market. So
Yeah.
it doesn't mean we're going to shoot up to $1 million like tomorrow or next week or anytime soon. But
Yeah.
I definitely think we can consider this like a much more of like a bullish pattern forming moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so that's it. Let us know if you guys have any questions on Bitcoin, where it's going, where it likely might go, and yeah, let us know if you agree with Balaji. $1 million in 90 days?
Yeah.
Are you making that bet?
Yeah.
We certainly are not. But yeah, follow us on Twitter at the Block Runner, at Meadows.io, and at Roby AI, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.